Okay, welcome. This is Andy Lee Graham, and I've traveled nonstop for 25 plus years and in 114 countries. That means I have lived in 114 countries, and I would consider I don't know anybody with more travel skills experience than me. There are people that are better at telling you about tourist destinations like tourist attractions, but I'm the champion of travel skills and experience. I can go anywhere from Iraq to Haiti to Ivory Coast when it's in a war. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the one of the best travelers on the planet ever, which is James Michener. But I'm going to talk about the 10 best travel books. And this is an interesting topic to me because if you really understand, if you really get in touch with your inner child, like why do you go travel around the world? A lot of it has to do that you read a book and it gave you a fantasy or a dream or whatever, like James Bond in Casino or something, or Casablanca and Morocco, or somebody, or they're traveling around Europe, or Hemingway in Paris. But what is life is a big roller coaster, a big emotional roller coaster, and travel is part of the roller coaster. Okay, and it's kind of interesting. What is that? I go, okay, I got a funny looking. It shows up really funny in my camera. Okay, so travel is an emotional roller coaster. And the reason why people don't travel more is because they leave their comfort zone, and they're not really understanding the actual mechanics on how to travel. They ignore all those things and they spend their whole time focused on their checklist and their tourist attractions and act like they just have to deal with it. Okay, and some of these things are kind of fun. But travel is like the film Casablanca. Um, and it's full of nefarious characters. These the people that leave their home country and travel around, like most people that migrate to another country, are not the best quality people on the planet. Okay, expats are the wanted, the unwanted, and the hermits. Some people go to like China so that they don't have to talk to anybody. They go to an Arabic country so they don't have to talk to anybody. They come. They wanted by the law in the United States, so they come to Mexico. Mexico is just full of criminals. You put a camera on there and start making a video, and you say, "Hey, everybody, anybody that's wanted by the law, run!" And 10% will run. Okay, try to do it. It's fun. A lot of people get very angry, or they say, "I'm not any. I have no presence on a social network." That means they're wanted. But there's also people that are unwanted that actually go travel because they want to be a big fish in a small pond. But these are books, and this is how the evolution of a travel book is. And I'm going to talk about novels for the most part this time. I'm not going to talk about how-to books. I'm talking about the novels that give you the dream of travel. What we all want to do is we all want to go wild. We all want to be, you know, Tom Cruise and Top in Maverick as in Top Gun or something. We want to go wild, searching for love, history, and the hope of finding heroes, both in books and in real life. Without love, travel is just a business trip. I really want to say that. A lot of people say, I'm not here for love. And that's just got to be one of the stupidest things you could ever say. That just means they gave up. Okay? Everybody is in a constant search for the love of their life. And most of them say, "Oh, I'm not here to do that," which means they're not doing very good at that kind of situation. Okay, but a checklist traveler is a person performing a list of things they want to do so they can go home and tell their friends, and or they're too cheap to. A lot of people are so cheap that they have to do 8 hours worth of work a day doing tourist attractions because they don't understand the difference between a vacation and a cultural trip. But a lot of troubles here. Okay, but all heroes are travelers. Almost every hero that you will ever see in a novel is going to somehow be moving around and traveling around the world, doing different things, right? Do you read a book that doesn't have a hero that's a traveler? All heroes are travelers. We read books about heroes, then we travel to the same destinations to understand and become like our heroes. All heroes are travelers. We read books about heroes, then we travel to the same destinations to become like our heroes. I was watching the Eagles take it easy, and I went to Winslow, Arizona to stand on the corner to have a girl slow down to take a look at me. Okay. I went to Del Mar, um California, so I could be like the Beach Boys and go surfing. I'm always laughing. But what is a travel book? A travel book is a an idea that gives you a dream. Okay, and travel books, um, they create a vision in your mind of another place, and then they give you certain challenges. Okay, and it's kind of the hero's journey in filmmaking. They call it the hero's journey, where the hero is, at home, and then they leave and they solve these insurmountable problems. It's really a formula for movies, but so is a book. Um, a great travel book is a love story when two people meet in Paris and then share their lives together. This is like the Rogues of Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway met in Paris with a group of different writers. Then they went to the Spanish War or something like that. And that movie, I'll think about it. But there's a really good movie about Hemingway, and he was one of the better writers. Now, he's not in any of these things. I'm not considering him a better travel writer because there's a lot better ones in a way. But he's on the thing. On the bottom of the list that I'll put in the link, I have a list of a lot of books. Uh, I don't know, like 50 different titles of books that are kind of considered in the travel book genre. Um, a great travel book will develop characters. This is what a novel does, right? A novel, any kind of novels. Most of these are novels. Okay, they're written as travel, but they're like historical novels. Any kind of travel book that doesn't explain history is just really not is a no go. Okay, because travel is about history. It's normally about history, love, and um, history, love. I forget these things. My brain's slow today. But they develop the characters and then they explain the feeling. So back to the thing I just said when I started. Travel is an emotional roller coaster. If you're feeling comfortable, I hope you're on vacation. If you're feeling comfortable, I hope you're a business traveler staying in a Hilton. If you're trying to do the wine and dining, that is not culture. Okay, that is whining and dining. Okay, culture is understanding how a person works, how a person lives, how a person travels. That's culture. It's not to be the rich and famous. That is something else. That's a different type of culture. Um, where to go books is not travel. It's tourism. Okay, a lot of books are written specifically to. The International Lying. They have all these newsletters that are specifically meant to have real estate sales. Um, Very few travel writers. I do not read any kind of travel articles hardly, very seldom, or watch videos because they are have no experience and all they're really doing is coming up with a feasible video that makes sense to try to make money. Okay, and they want to be famous even though they don't have any knowledge of what they're doing. I cannot watch travel videos because they are so bad. I'm not sure they're dishonest. Is they just don't know that they're naive. Okay, a lot of people have no clue how stupid they are. Like a lot of people travel all around Mexico and they have no clue that the rest of the world, there's like 252 other countries, right? Okay, travel history is about travel. Anything to do with history and moving around and thing. In a way, even reading about Napoleon moving across Europe is kind of a travel and what he had to do it. Because what do you need to do to prepare to travel? if there's no preparation and all you're going to do is live, you got to squat and you got an American toilet all the time and you never, I mean, I'm always laughing. From Mexico to Chile, everywhere on the planet, I carry servietas in my pocket because it doesn't matter. I was just in the Guatemala airport. There was no toilet paper in the toilet, right? This is part of travel. And anybody that has avoided a squat toilet all their life, never slept in an airport, you just haven't gone anywhere yet. But travel books are letting you experience this without necessarily having the pain into it. But travel, okay, so I'm going to talk about what I would consider the best overall. The writers that are writing understand travel. They're simpatico. A person that writes a novel and they actually understand travel is different than somebody that makes up a story and doesn't really understand it. I read a lot of books where people are even historical novels, and there's a lot of anachronisms and really silly things that I read. If I read National Geographic or I'm any of the travel websites, they are just totally incorrect. Okay, they got a person that wrote an article that had been there for a week and could not possibly really understand the multiple layers of a culture. But a really good travel writer understands the many layers of travel. Okay, the first book I'm going to talk about is The Beach by Alex Garland. And all in the link that I'll put in the description, there's a link going to Goodreads, because Goodreads is better than Amazon. They show you how to go buy books too. And the Goodreads is one of the best book sites on the planet. Okay, but in English. Okay, Alex Garland wrote the book The Beach that they made into a movie. And this guy, it was all in Southeast Asia, and he understood all the Vietnam War history, and I think he's from England, and he understands what people really need to do. They need the map or the directions on how to get there. That's what a traveler needs. That's why he made that such a big issue in the thing. Do not share the map, because when you find paradise, people get really protective of it. They don't like. I often have people say, "Don't talk about the hotel you're in." I've had guys get absolutely angry because they're afraid that price of that hotel will go up. Okay, but Alex Garland, one of the best scenes in the book was he was sitting there. There was two travelers sitting there, and they were sitting up on top of a cliff looking over the beautiful waterfalls and stuff, and they say, okay, well, I stopped into Cambodia for 2 days. And he says, does that count? Which means when we're weighing in our minds whether we visited a country, how long do you have to be in country? So like Century Club and the world's most traveled people, a lot of times all they're saying is, I don't really know their rules, but I don't think they require them to be there for a week, okay? So a lot of people go to a country, be there for 2 days. What makes me special is I've actually lived in most of the countries that I've gone to for like a month at minimum. And people are always amazed that I go to the same countries over and over. I was trying to tell a very kind of slow person the other day. He says, why are you always in Guatemala? I said, it's a great hub. Like Bangkok, Thailand is a great hub. Addis Ababa, Ethiopia is a great hub. Belgium's a great hub. Lake Athlon is one flight away from New York City, right? So it's $180 flight to get back to the United States to a bigger hub where I'm not going to go live in New York City because it's just ridiculously priced. The benefits of living there are not worth it for me to use it as a hub. Okay, a hub, but Bangkok is. I've been to Bangkok probably 50 times. I flew in and out of there many, many times. 50 times. Philippines is not a hub. But there's hub areas, airports. So what makes Panama is a hub and Cancun is kind of a hub. I could go anywhere in the world if I lived in Cancun. I could at least get to Europe cheaply. Um, but the best places to live if you really want to travel the world inside the United States is probably Fort Lauderdale, New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas. Those are your major airports, and they can go anywhere. Like I can fly from Chicago for about to Tanzania, where I'm planning to go, for about the same price thing. But Alex Garland in the thing says I was only there for 2 days. Does that count? That's what a true traveler thinks about: is did I really give it a fair chance? That is the question I constantly have. Why would I go to a country for 2 days? Why would I go to a country for 7 days? I it's just ridiculous to go to anywhere for 7 days. You don't understand anything. All you can get to do is go home and say you was there. Okay, but Alex Garland, all through his book, has permeated little travel jargon. And there's travel jargons like losing the plot, the center of the backpacker universe. The first scene in the movie is, here I am, Khalsan Road, center of the backpacker universe. And I use this term a lot. I talk about the center of the expat universe. There's centers in any state, center of the tourist bubble. These are things that true travel writers understand. Number 2 is, are you experienced? And this has got to be the absolute required reading if you're going to go to India. And he's talking about, are you experienced traveler? William Sutcliffe. Absolutely hilarious. I was sitting in Hampi, India, reading this book, falling out of bed because they talk about the guy loses his girlfriend to the yoga teacher. Okay, everybody thinks that the yoga teacher is an intellectual guy. I'll never forget when I went into Mancora Beach. I think it's Peru or Ecuador, Peru, and these 2 girls came up to me and instantly talked to me, and I said, I said, hey, there's a bunch of young surfers here. Why do you want to talk to me? And they go, I'm an older guy. I was 45 at the time or something. He says, Ellos sin futuro, those without a future. But William Sutcliffe talks about all the different things. Like I had trouble with the yoga teacher feeling my ass because he kept trying to help me. Men in India have problems with handsome men. Okay, but the one man that I was talking to from Canada was going from place to place to place to go to the yoga classes because that's a way to meet people, way to meet girls. And by darn, I did it. And I did meet some girls. They asked me for coffee after. I mean, if I really wanted to meet girls on Lake Athlone, I'd go to the yoga, one of these yoga retreats because it's kind of where the dizzy girls are at, right? Okay, but he also sits there and talks about the idea, like the guy when they first arrive, these beggars come up, and the guy just looks at him, and the guy stops, and that's the experienced traveler. When a beggar comes up, they just go and stop, and they don't talk to him. An experienced traveler does not talk to beggars. That's what they want you to do. You just like here, you can go shake your finger. I have this one guy, Hector, here that's just a real jerk. He's from Mexico, and he started screaming at me because I won't give him money. That's exploitation. This is kind of stuff that William Sutcliffe goes into great detail. But I was laughing so much. I was in Hampi, India, which most of the travel inside India is train to big stop, train stop. Hardly anybody goes anywhere but the big, there's like, I don't know, like say 20 places where people go and they don't go anywhere else. I took a bus because I couldn't take it any longer. The trains are so inconvenient. Okay, James Michener has 2 books. James Michener has died, and he, as far as I could see, he actually wrote a book that I just started reading that I didn't realize existed called, hold on a second, The World is My Home, 1992. And the world is my home. I actually said on a podcast, somebody interviewed me one time, and I said, I'm a global citizen. I am. I really am no longer, I'm a tribe of one. I'm no longer from the United States. I technically will never stop using the passport because it's by far one of the best passports. But James Michener has written many, many travel books. Okay, what he does is he writes historical novels about specific things. Like anybody living near Chesapeake Bay, they ought to read that. Anybody living in Mexico, they ought to read the book on Mexico. Okay, but I've got a list of all his books in the bottom of this Google Docs that I'll put in there. But the two books that I really recommend you read, especially if you're over, say, 50, is The Drifters, 1971. It's about being a backpacker in Europe and going through, and this is a kind of a historical novel of explaining the kind of gypsy-like lifestyle of people that were going to Europe when they used to have the $5 and $10 a day books. Right now, it's just been it's ridiculous. The price of Europe is no longer hardly even worth the value. Okay, the only way I'll go to Europe is if I stay for 1 month in a location because it is horrible. It's like Costa Rica. Costa Rica is one of the worst possible places to go on the planet. The second book is To Read the Source, 1965. And this is about the Israeli, the source of a culture in a lot of ways. But they had these tells. I remember when I was in Iraq, I was looking in Mosul. I was looking out the window and they had a tell. A tell is a place where they pile, say the clay buildings fall down, and then they build on top of them. They eventually build a mountain, okay, after thousands of years. But he goes into great detail. Anybody interested in the Israeli war that wants to understand what's going on in an intelligent way, read James Michener, #4 book, The Source. It's all about the movement of people. Travel is about how we move and what we need to do to move and how we migrate and things like that. Okay, #5, Michael Crichton, Try Travel. Again, one of the books I was laughing at, he was really brave. Michael Crichton's dead too, but he's written some spectacular books. And the book Travel, which was kind of funny, he was walking down the road in Ethiopia, and this woman stopped and squatted and pissed. And he goes, in the book, he says, I don't believe he ever wrote this, but he did. He said something like, hard to believe we are the same species when they stop and do this kind of thing. I used to sit in Peru, and these guys, I'd say, walk 1 feet away before you start pissing. Okay. In India, I was in Mahatma Gandhi's ashram. Right across the street, I was staying in a hotel, and you could go into the ashram. And I walked out there, and the guy's sitting there squatting and shitting. Okay, and you're sitting there going, but these are these things. These books talk about these things, the real life. They don't try to sell you on going to the place. They tell you about the culture, and this is a difference between a guy that just wants to be loved, because he's going to make everything seem really fictitious, right? Okay, but then you have the James Bond books where everything's so dangerous, which is hokey too. Okay, there is no such thing as most countries are not very dangerous. I don't care what they say. And I have never in my life, in 25 years of travel in 114 countries, I have yet to meet a person starving. I'm not planning to. I have met people in Niamey, Niger, and Tanu, and these different Maradi that had malnutrition really bad, and the children do buy. Malnutrition, though, is really bad in the United States. You can see it in the face of skins. When skin's really bad, that's malnutrition. But that book, Travel, is, Michael Crichton, he's just an expert writer, right? All his books are listed. #6, and one of my favorite books of all time. Now, it was written by Paul Theroux. Now, Paul Theroux, I don't know. He's always like gets divorced and went on vacation. Then he lived in Hawaii, right? Oh yeah, James Michener wrote a book about Hawaii. You gotta read James Michener. When I first started traveling, I always had James Michener books because he'd write those 800-page books. If you can't read, you really can't travel, because you're never going to be self-entertaining, and you're not going to be able to understand where you're at. You have to be able to read to really collect data. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm kind of a PhD in travel is that I've written 15,000 times, plus I've read every bit of information as I've entered each of these places. I didn't just enter and let a tour guide tell me what to believe, right? I mean, some of the travelers coming to Lake Atitlan are unbelievably uninformed in what they're doing. I mean, used to be we had the Lonely Planet. Now they're just dimwits. Okay, I mean they are doing they're getting screwed by the travel industry, and that is why the people with the travel PhDs, we are against people getting free rooms for travel writers. That's just getting paid to write advertising. But Paul Theroux, My Secret History, what a great book. He's like in Peace Corps and he's living in Malawi, I think, and he's getting drunk at the night and going with these girls. And he talks about the cultures of the African culture and how they have their viewpoints on love and situation. And he just goes into great detail. Dark Star Safari was, I don't think I put it there, but that was an excellent book of a trip of him going overland through Africa. He's always known for he's also got a book called The Tao of Travel, which is like the woo-woo land, how to travel. He's kind of depressing at times, but he really does explain. One of the quotes that I use from him all the time is, if you really want to know a country, go from ocean to ocean. You can't go flying around. Flying around is not a way to understand a country. A train is the worst possible way. Public transportation, trains go through tunnels, things. Now, he wrote a lot of trips about trains, but I 100% think this is the worst form of transportation there is. A big bus up high, looking out the windows, and going 50 miles a day is the best way to see the world if you really want to do it. I did this in India. I just get on a bus, get off every 50 miles and do it. I just did it in Nicaragua. But My Secret History is a lot to do about the Peace Corps and how this started and all the different things that go on in learning about a culture. And the Peace Corps the United States Peace Corps is a 2-year program, and the goal is that they get somebody into the culture. Really, it was a way to, I think John F. Kennedy started it. But the goal is that you get people living, working with the culture, and then they can come back and work in the government of the United States. President Bush, the younger one, actually reestablished it because this is a good way to have highly intelligent people that understand the culture. Working in the embassy doesn't teach you the culture of a country. Working for Peace Corps, and it's kind of interesting, but 25 to 35% of the people that join Peace Corps quit. They can't even handle it. But it's a great way. Anybody that's ever been in Peace Corps, I have a higher level of esteem because, in a way, they're assigned a village and they're supposed to learn the local language and they have to learn all the skills. And this is what the book he has, My Secret History, goes into all these things. And he actually would insult the Peace Corps all the time because most of them are there just a lot of aid organizations. Anybody that goes and volunteers abroad for like 7 days or they go be a missionary, a lot of them do this just to put it on their CV or their resume, right? So much has to do with aid organizations. It's a business. Aid organizations, a business. Number 7, The Call of the Wild, Jack London. And this is the instinct of humans. They portray it as a dog going up into Alaska. There's like 4 or 5 different versions of this movie. The book is everything about the Call of the Wild is the reason why we travel. We want to be strange. We want to be different. We want to be, just for 1 minute, we don't want to be part of the nightmare called the American dream. It's a nightmare. Anymore, it's like a machine. You're just a cog in a wheel. Americans have to really go to work. It's getting a little thing. The Generation X has become one of the most naive generations on the planet because they're using smartphones. But used to be everybody had to actually get a job and bear in it. My nephew got an MBA and he was wanting to be an entrepreneur. I said, hey, an MBA is proving that you're a good employee. Okay, it's not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is somebody like Bill Gates that quits university so that he can start a business. So did Steve Jobs. But the call of the wild is to call. And it's also that aggressive thing that I keep talking about. The call of the wild is these two dogs. Who's the alpha male? You cannot travel if you don't have any ego strength. If you're just a wimpy, whooshy, whatever, you get dominated, and you nobody likes to be dominated all the time. That's people go to work, and why do they want to be wild? They get dominated all day at work, and they never in their life have been wild. But the call of the wild is excellent. Watch the movies; they're great. Number 8 is Travel with Charlie's, John Steinbeck, and just an excellent book about it's from an older time, but it's really an excellent book. And John Steinbeck, all his books are about culture and the pros and cons. Cannery Row is just one of the spectacular books, because everybody in Cannery Row, they were going back and forth that you have a little bit of a saint and a little bit of devil in anybody. I was going to write a book. I had it started. Maybe I'll finish it now that I don't have any business to run anymore. I'm writing a lot more. But there's a sinner and saint in everybody. A lot of people don't understand that travel is about looking at the sinners and saints. The next book is number 9, Eat, Pray, and Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. That movie is absolutely the book. Everything about it is travel. Eat. We go eat in different countries. We pray that little to people, like everybody over here in San Marcos looking for God. They call it Indian Light. People go to travel to try to discover who they are. And they pray and they love. And they'll call it a spiritual thing. They'll go meditate. And this is, call it from meditation to prayer. Whatever it is they're trying to find their inner peace. So, and then the different ways that we enter into love situations. And this denial of love being part of travel. 60% of travel is the hope of finding a lover. Number 10. This is a complicated one, but anybody that ever travels, and if you haven't seen this, you haven't traveled that much. It's like if you haven't used a squat toilet, if you haven't used a mosquito net, and if you haven't heard of Tintin, The Adventures of Tintin. This guy, I think he was from Belgium, he wrote this cartoon thing where he had these adventures of Tintin. It's kind of like I never forget. But there's adventure travel videos, travel movies where people go to Bob Hope, and go traveling to Morocco or something like that. This is the cartoon version of this. Oh, I got a dog underneath me. Tintin went many different places, and he's giving the breakdown in the cultures in a very, very great way for a person that's just learning. It's definitely travel, and you're going to see, if you go into Thailand, you go into this little place, and you'll see like the Tintin Cafe or something. You'll see pictures of Tintin all over the place. Give yourself an upper level and become a higher level understanding of travel and understand Tintin. Being a vegan is not travel. Okay. Being yoga is part of India, but the yoga teachers in India are not as good as the ones in the United States. Okay, that's 10 things. But I've got James Michener's, I've got all his book, Caravans, The Source, The Drifters, Centennial, The Covenant, Space, Poland, Texas, Iberia, which is Spain, Alaska, Caribbean. James Michener is my hero. He's the only person I know that probably wrote about more countries and more understanding. I mean, he didn't write about more countries, but he does a deep dive. His understanding of the Mayan culture, the Aztec, It's it's just he wrote a book called Mexico. If you're living in Mexico and you haven't read Mexico, you don't know nothing. He breaks down the different cultures like mestizo, mulatto, all the different breakdowns of cultural things. He writes a book about Jamaica or the Caribbean where he talks about these Rasta guys. Just great. But I've got all the books listed here. Paul Thoreau, who wrote the book My Secret History, he has a book, The Mosquito Coast, the World's End, the Patagonia Express. That's about Argentina. Dr. Slaughter, also My Secret History, Chicago Loop, Kowloon Tong, Dark Star Safari. I'm trying to give you, read these books and you'll dream. And if you dream, the way you create a bucket list, I'm going to eventually do one on the best travel films. But the bucket list is something you start dreaming about. Like I'm dreaming about going to Malawi and Cameroon. I've been dreaming about Cameroon for years. I dream about the Darien Gap. There's people that say, Andy, when are you going to go do the Darien Gap? That's the gap between Colombia and Panama. And when am I going to go back to see the uncontacted tribes in Breu, Peru? A lot of this has to do with money. Motherland, nonfiction. Oh, he wrote The Great Railroad Bazaar. He was a big one on railroads. Some of you need to take railroads because it's easier on the body. The Patagonia Express, Riding the Iron Rooster, The Happy Isles of Oceania. Great riders. Tintin, The Blue Lotus. Do you know that there's a travel saying that if you eat the lotus, that you will travel forever? This is lotus eaters, okay? That's like a water lily, okay? And then there's the idea that when you get to the end of the world, there'll be dragons, emotional dragons. The reason why the skills you need to travel is emotional. 90% of the problem with travel is emotional. It's not a money problem. People ask me sometimes, Andy, where can I go and live for $1,000 a month? I sit there and I say, well, get a map of the world and get a dart, just throw it. You got about an 80% chance you're going to hit one of those countries. 80% of the planet earns less than $1,000 a month. 30% of the planet has no electricity. Okay, here in Guatemala, they're probably earning, I don't know, at maximum $25 a day. And you're earning that 25. The spread between the overdeveloped countries and the normal countries, the 200 normal countries, there's really, in my mind, 253 countries. And anybody that says, oh, there's exactly 253 countries, they definitely don't know anything about travel, because there's these countries like Transnistria, and there's countries with passport, their own money, and the United Nations will not give them a status of being a country. It's absolutely insane. The United Nations has 190, and they're really lacking probably 80 different independent places. Okay, I'm the Andy Lee Graham, the PhD of travel. Okay, I'm here and you're not. Why not? Why am I here? Because I can emotionally, mentally, physically do it. I don't have a trolley bag. I have a backpack, and I'm 65 plus. I'm in the game. I'm a player. I want to make everybody a player where you can go write the story of your life, then go live it. So you write the adventure of your life, then you go live it. Okay, thank you very much. Hit that subscribe button. I have a Patreon link in the link where I'd like to have Patreons. I need to get up to about another $500 since I closed my business. And Patreon members are going to get to be able to go on Zooming. The ones that pay $25 a month can have the ability to call me from a foreign country or wherever they're at, or anywhere in the United States, and they're having a very big travel problem, dilemma, and they can call me up and talk to me, once in a while, like 15 minutes a month. And the goal is that I can take what could be a catastrophe for money and turn it into just another challenge, right? A great traveler just never panics. I'm Andy Lee Graham. Bye bye.